I had a girlfriend from that area. My first girlfriend from Mount Kisco-ish.
Fancy.
Yeah. Well, it was. But what's the next town over?
Bedford.
Oh, no.
Chappaqua.
Chappaqua. That's it. Chappaqua.
Yeah.
Fancy.
Yeah.
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 So that house.
Yeah, that house, it was like the garage was his office.
Really?
Yeah.
David Ray had to have a garage office?
He loves a garage office.
He didn't have
And
one
then
in-
he's still got a garage office.
Not in the house? He couldn't-
No.
He doesn't
No.
like the house?
No.
Oh, okay.
But like a big thing was like, going over and
Yeah.
saying like, Dad, it's dinner.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like hoping, I mean,
Yeah.
he's a wonder, but like.
Yeah.
just-
You weren't bothering him?
Yeah, like I don't want to.
In the middle of the big writing?
But then the smell of like those,
Yeah.
I guess, rotting books.
Well,
it's
it's
a very,
paper
but
and-
it's like a wonderful
It is. It's like a library
memory,
almost.
and I feel it makes me feel very cozy.
Yeah. What? So, like, what else did he have? Just a bunch of books in there? Did you have records? What kind of like? What you? It seems like you grew up with a playwright as a dad, and one of the great actresses as a mother in Westchester.
Well, I mean, I hate to say that.
Yeah.
That was sort of like, it feels like we were sort of passing through. I was born on the Upper West Side, and then I guess my mom, when my brother was
Yeah.
born,
How old's that guy?
he's 3 years younger than me.
Okay.
So I was 3, and she had like, this is, so I'm told she had a sort of panic
Yeah.
about needing space and like,
Yeah.
can we do this in the city? And so they moved to Westchester.
Yeah.
And then I think the whole time she was there, she was kind of like, this feels like totally in between. Like I either want to go back to the city
Right.
or I want to go deeper
Yeah.
to the country.
Yeah.
And then eventually we went deeper
To the country? Where?
Lakeville, Connecticut, which is where my dad still is.
Where's it? What's that near?
It's the northwest corner of Connecticut. It's near the border of New York and Massachusetts. So it's like right there. It's right next
Is it
to
by West Adams?
No.
Oh.
Oh, right, West Adams, Mass, right?
Yeah.
It's like 40 minutes from Great Barrington,
Uh-huh.
5 minutes from Millerton,
Okay.
2 minutes from Salisbury, any
Yeah.
of these places. Anyway, yeah.
Well, I mean, like oddly, I think I probably did comedy gigs up there in Salisbury.
or Great Barrington, probably.
Probably.
Maybe.
I just know there were one-nighters all over New England that I had to drive to.
Nice.
And some of the towns I remember, some I don't.
Yeah.
Somewhere closer to Boston, but that's far from Boston.
Yeah, it's close. It's like a 2-hour train ride from New York.
So it's really up there.
It's up there. Yeah, it's like country. Yeah, it's beautiful.
But can you live in the country? Do you live in the country?
Well, no, now I live in Los Feliz.
This is where you are permanently?
Yeah.
No more New York?
Ugh, don't say it. I mean, I still have a tiny little place in New York that I hold on to.
Yeah.
That my family cannot fit into now. But
What are you doing with it? Just renting it out?
no, I don't even.
You just but it's pretty new though, right? To be here. I mean, you haven't been out that long, right?
It is, and I mean, if I'm truthful, it's sort of it was another thing that kind of like it crept up. I was out here shooting, and I was going back and forth, but I was still doing plays, and then. But I've lived in the house out here that I live in now like 6 years.
Really?
Yeah.
It's weird because, like, I mean, I see you in all these different things, and then I look at all the things you've done, and I just don't manage my time well.
Neither do I.
What are you talking about? You do a million things.
I
all
don't
the
manage
time.
my time well, though.
But you're busy.
Yeah.
You make time for work, clearly. Do you never stop working?
Thanks.
Is that good?
I love to work.
Yeah.
I love to work, but I love to not work.
But when was the last time you didn't work, though? 10 years ago?
No, I feel like, I had all these, I was like pregnant back
Yeah.
to back 3 times, but I worked through most of my pregnancies.
You did? You were, but you were pregnant on what?
Oh gosh. A lot, like some sort of like obviously pregnant and then some not. But
Yeah.
I shot when I was pregnant with my first kid. I shot an American Horror Story
Yeah.
season. And then I can't keep
Did they just work it in?
Well, some of them we didn't have to, like I
Yeah.
hit it.
Yeah.
And then there was one season where it was like
Of American Horror Story?
American Horror Story where I was very pregnant when Ryan called, and I was
Yeah.
like, I'm going to be so pregnant.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, great, I'll write it in.
Yeah.
And then I was also doing Underground Railroad, and Barry thought about writing it in too. Didn't end up. Because I was like in a corset, but then COVID happened. So by the time we were actually shooting the season of Horror Story, I'd had the baby.
Oh, good. Yeah.
But the baby had become like a very important plot point. So then I spent the whole season in a prosthetic belly.
Oh, really?
Sort of like honoring the pregnancy that
you had to be fake pregnant.
I had to be fake pregnant. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I mean, I watched the entire season of Love and Death.
Oh, you did?
I did.
More than me.
Really?
I mean, they've sent it to me, but I'm very weird about watching stuff.
You are?
Yeah, super weird.
But why?
Are
What
you?
happens? I used to be. I'm less.
If something's still being edited,
Yeah.
like watching something during ADR, or if you're coming, depending on whatever you're.
Yeah.
I love that. Like,
Well, I know you see bits and pieces in ADR, and you're usually it's like 2 or 3 minutes. You're like, that's probably pretty good.
yeah, or like seeing a rough cut, I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
But there's just something about like when it's
final thing.
the final thing that even if I don't know, it just always feels like a loss to me in some way.
Well, I can see that. Sure. Well, it kind of is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're not living it, but there's some. I guess there's some part of you where it's still moving, or something.
And then it's over.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like the great. I mean, it is, and maybe the reason I hate that so much, or that it makes me so sad, is because I started in the theater where I never had to deal with that. I mean, you'd end the run, and then I would cry for like.
Did you?
Oh yeah, I really would weep at the end of every.
Well,
run.
I mean, theater is such a it's kind of the same. Like, I don't have any experience in growing up theater, but I have limited experience on sets. But the one thing I knew even in college about theater is that, you really are, part of a community. And it seems that depending where you are with theater, you can have the postpartum depression of show ending, but everyone's still kind of around. Where you do a movie or a TV show, like everyone goes, right? Unless you're on a series. And then it's just sort of like, all right, we were really close for a few months.
I know.
But theater, they're all around.
They're all around, but while you're doing it,
Yeah.
you just get to go and go and go again.
Yeah.
So you don't have to give it away until you're really giving it away and it's over. But like I love and I miss that feeling of when you go home with all that self-loathing and like, oh, I wish you're like, oh, I'll just try it tomorrow.
Do you find and also I guess the sort of depth of self-discovery when you do a play over and over again, it can be pretty expansive, right? I mean, you can just make changes or tweak things over and over again.
And the audience is like this, it's like this
Yeah.
living,
Sure. So
breathing
do you behave differently?
organism. Yeah, but because they inform so much,
Yeah.
they just do. And it is so wild how it's like they become this singular thing.
Yeah.
Like you really are
Each
like
show, you mean?
Yeah,
Each performance,
it's like this audience.
Yeah, you
It's
can feel it.
But they're like one thing.
Yeah. But when you're in a play, though, can you feel pockets where it's sort of like, that's not a great song.
Occasionally, there's like
It's stage right, not great.
like
Great.
E whatever.
Yeah, they're not getting it up. They're not giving it up.
Totally. But in general, they do kind of become this like wonderful amoeba or something.
Yeah. No, they have their own personality.
Yeah.
Sometimes in a stand-up show, I mean, I can tell before I get out there, what's going on.
Yeah.
Kind of the vibe of it and where the problems are. I'm not always correct.
Or like where you get your first. I mean, oh my God, stand up. I can't even imagine. But like because it's not.
Yeah.
This, but you have like a set, so you have
Sure.
certain.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes,
Most of the time.
if there's like a a joke that's not a. There will just become little things where you're like, oh, it's gonna. If we have them here,
Sure.
or like, oh
Yeah.
no, we didn't get them there, so we're gonna.
Right. Well, yeah,
Have
with
to
jokes,
win
you're
them a
sort of
little.
like, you kind of know, like, oh, that one didn't go.
Yeah, right. So
this
we'll
is going to be
see.
a job.
Yeah.
It's not going to be fun.
Yeah.
So your mother, Jill
Yeah.
Clayburgh, is like, it seems to have a place in my memory as a child because of the movie Semi-Tough, I think.
Oh my God.
Right?
Amazing.
It's like her and Burt
Was that like
Reynolds,
Chris
Christopherson,
Christopherson?
Bert Convy, and your mom. It was kind of this football comedy.
Yeah.
And but then she was in. If I feel like she was in so many movies during that era, right? What was that? The mid to late 70s.
I mean, I wasn't alive, but that's what they tell me. They tell me she was a big star.
She's a big star. Like my mom liked her. Like she was like one of the stars, the lady movie stars. And she was in Silver Streak.
Yes.
Were you alive then?
No, I don't think so.
With Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor?
I don't think I was alive, but I'd have to. I don't think so. But it was like one of the first ones I was able to watch because it's like kind of PG,
Yeah. But have you gone back and watched her shit?
A lot of it.
You have?
Yeah, a lot of it.
I don't know how you would have to, right? You think?
Yeah.
And then did you start out, did you feel pressure to act?
No, to not act. I felt pressure to not act.
From them or from you?
Both.
And like your dad writes these fucking heavy plays. Like I think I did a monologue from Streamers in college. That's some heavy shit.
Totally. Yeah, I think I was like 3 or something in the aisles of, because he directed a production of Hurly Burly in LA.
I saw that on Broadway.
That Mike Nichols directed.
Right, with William Hurt and was it William Hurt? Harvey Keitel.
Yes, and like then Mara
Sean Penn
Winningham and Madonna at some point, Sean Penn and Cynthia Nixon did that amazing thing where she was doing.
Oh right, and she was like a kid, right? Like
and she was like It's so romantic. She was like doing Hurly Burly and then walking to do her scene in The Real Thing, and then like somehow making it to both.
Yeah.
Curtain calls. Yeah. Which is why when anyone's like, it's a conflict, we can't work it out. I'm like, let me tell you a story.
You can. You can. If you want me, you can work it out. Yeah. So you remember seeing not Hurly Burly, not Streamers.
I didn't see the one. No, but like I was like, I think I was 3. I think I was in the aisles of rehearsal. I have a memory of sitting next to my dad, and he's like a big guy, and I was little, and then it's just like everyone just on stage like.
Was it magical?
Fuck.
You just all you heard were the fucks.
I don't know what it was. It was like it was actually. It felt normal. Yeah. Like I was just like, oh yeah,
this is my family.
Yeah, this is my family.
But did you, as you got older, or even now, I mean, he wrote 3 post-Vietnam novel or plays. What was his experience there? Have you talked to him about that?
Yeah, more and more.
Yeah? Was it hardcore?
Well, he was spent a lot of time in an office. Like, okay. And I think working like in the hospital office. And then he was also a guard. Yeah. So could have been a lot more hardcore, but also was very hardcore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was there, right? Yeah. And your mom passed away a while back?
Yeah, 2010. But she was sort of, she was like this, she was like the planet we were all orbiting around, yeah.
What happened? Did she get sick?
Yeah.
So sad. And what were you going to do if it wasn't acting? What was the plan?
I wanted to, for a while, I wanted to be a ballerina.
Really? That seems like a crazy, insane, hard life.
Pretty short career, too.
Yeah. Was it, did you lock into that?
I loved it. I did it. I started like little. Yeah. Probably around the same time I was going to Hurly Burly. Yeah. With my dad at 3, I started doing ballet, and I loved it. I loved the discipline of it. It was totally self-motivated. Like my mother would take me to the ballet, to New York City Ballet. Yeah. We had like season whatever, and we would drive into the city and sit in the same seats. And I was like, from a very young age, just sort of transfixed. Yeah. And I loved it. And then I wanted to do it, and I did it. And I was incredibly motivated.
Did you go to school for it?
No. So then like, I did it through, I quit somewhere in high school because it just became too, you get to that moment where it's like, you're either doing this or you're not. And
well, it's also one of those things where there's like a genetic component almost.
Yeah.
Like it's like tennis playing. My brother worked his ass off.
Yeah.
But at some point, it's like you don't have the natural.
I
ability.
had a lot of the I
Yeah.
have I'm hyperextended
Yeah.
this and
And you're tall.
and I'm tall
Yeah.
and like my feet, there's something I could dance on a lot of my toes because
Yeah.
I don't have like a so I had a lot of that
Oh, good.
stuff, but it was I also wanted to go to college and
Be
I
a
was
person?
into and be a person and I would have now. I mean, I don't think it's not like I would have been a star,
Right.
but I think I could have
Yeah.
danced. But I would have anyway.
Explain to me though, will you? Because it's one of these things where I don't have any context or appreciation for dance. I mean, I can watch it and be entertained, I guess.
Yeah.
But modern dance I can kind of see.
Yeah.
But not unlike other, ancient traditions or at least classical art.
Yeah.
There's a structure to it and everything, right?
Yeah.
And there's a way to understand ballet.
Yeah.
Do you have that?
I do. It moves me so much. But it's funny, like Hamish, because he'll sort of walk in
Your husband.
sometime. Yeah, we're not married, but yeah,
Okay.
sure. Whatever he is, yeah.
The father of your
father of my
children and your partner.
Yeah, my daughter, the other day, I was like, because sometimes I'll just say husband because it's like
Yeah.
easier for
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah.
I don't know where we are. We're at like a hotel or something. I was like, oh, my husband is getting that. And my daughter looks up at me and goes, who's that?
What's the aversion to being married? Or where does that come in? After what? You have 3 kids?
I have 3. We have 3 kids together, and then I have a stepdaughter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you're just sort of like, let's not rush into
No,
anything?
well, now I'm no, yeah, like exactly. Let's just take this one thing one step at a time. The ballet. What I was going to say
Yes.
is that my boyfriend, baby
Sure.
daddy, whatever, when he'll sometimes come in and I'll be like, he's like, "What are you doing on your phone?" Because I'll like jump and sort of put my phone away. So
Right.
I'm just like watching ballet.
Really? Mm-hmm. As to make you feel better?
Yeah.
Huh. It's just the grace of it? Or
Something more.
it's magic?
It's magic to me. Yeah.
And with whole ballets, a lot of them have stories, right? So
Yeah, but it's not that. It's like something. It's like the aesthetic. It's probably like watching great athletes
Yeah,
or
sure.
whatever.
Oh, yeah,
he
yeah.
cries all the time watching sports. So why
Really?
can't I?
I don't have that. I'll cry watching most things.
You do.
Yeah, but no, I don't have any sports in me. But I get very moved.
You know what's interesting? I used to,
Yeah.
and after I had my first kid,
Yeah.
I find that I cry less.
Really?
Yeah, it's not.
What do you think? What do you make of that? Have your first kid, you cry less. Maybe it's less about you. Maybe the crying. Maybe your feelings or your emotions are so now connected to something, that you care for and you can't even understand the depth of the love you have and the emotional connection you have to a kid. That I think crying when you're alone without children is sort of this weird selfish thing. It's a way to feel.
I think you're right. But I actually are the first person. I hadn't totally understood it, and I thought, oh, is this like some survival? Just some
Yeah.
hormonal. Because I remember being pregnant and watching some great movies, and I wasn't crying, but I was moved. But I was
Right.
like, what is it, bro? Like, what's
Yeah.
this is
What's gone on?
bizarre.
Have I closed up?
Like,
Is my heart
this
closed up?
But I feel sort of the opposite about everything. Like I feel like my heart is opening up. But I think you're exactly right.
Yeah, it's crying alone is a selfish activity, right? So now it's like you're feeling, I think that your emotions are going the proper place in a way, because they're with the kid or the kids.
That's really nice.
Huh.
I'm gonna say that I think you're right. And
Yeah.
I do.
Now you got to ask your
No, I-
partner why he cries during
Why
sports.
You're so selfish.
You and you're crying at sports. How do you cry at sports?
Oh God. I mean, when Derek Jeter was retiring, like
Yeah.
that year of retirement.
Oh, really?
It was just like
He went into mourning.
a lot of tissue boxes around the house.
Wow.
Oh, I love
All right,
that.
so you're into the ballet.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And your parents, obviously, I would assume, given their pedigree, are supportive of the arts.
Yeah, but I mean, I was pretty young when it stopped. When that stopped, and then I was like, I loved writing in
Yeah.
high school,
Yeah.
and What do you think?
Well, like what you write. Like I don't know what it's like to grow up with parents who are in the arts
And then-
the pressure of that or the non-pressure of that. You know, I
Right.
don't understand it. Like because like playwriting, for instance, that it's insane playwriting.
Totally.
Like and you do a lot of theater. Like you read plays, you're like, where the fuck does this come from?
Yeah.
You know, because all different language of
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
And especially like some of your dad's plays are there's a lot of depth and weirdness to them.
Yeah, and it is like its own language.
Yeah.
Totally.
So I just like, you know, living in that house, like, I don't know, like, what were you writing? Do you like?
I never have written a play or even attempted to write a play. No. I just loved writing short stories in school. So I kind of, when I stopped dancing, I thought like, okay, maybe this is what I'll do.
Yeah.
But then I really missed performing, being on stage,
Yeah.
which is probably the thing I had loved so much about dance
Right. Look at me.
initially.
Yeah.
Or just like that, look at me, but not me.
Right.
Like this way to
it's coming through you. Yeah.
do something else.
Express yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sort of disappear into something and all that stuff.
You did? With ballet? You
I
disappeared
did
into
feel
it?
that way
Yeah.
with ballet because it's not about
Yeah.
you, but it's like all of you.
Yeah.
So then I like started, auditioning for like the high school plays, or
Yeah.
I was teaching ballet in the summer and
Where?
in Connecticut,
Yeah.
like in that tiny town. And they had like the older kids had a summer thing,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Oh, do you want to do like a monologue in the anyway?"
Yeah.
So then but I don't
What do
think
you mean, like at a camp?
yeah, like a summer camp, like because I hadn't really done
Yeah.
theater,
Right.
but I think. I don't know. If I talk about it honestly, I
Yeah.
don't think it's like, and then I discovered it. I
Yeah.
think I was stalling because
Yeah.
I was so terrified. And I felt a lot of shame around it for some reason. Like
Really?
shame in doing what my parents did or feeling like I was just,
But by the time you're in high school, by the time you're having these feelings, I mean, you've seen your mom on stage many times.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. So was it shame or was it just like, I don't know if I can be that good. They're so good. No? You felt, I'm just trying to identify the
I know.
shame.
Or just like,
Like, am I going to be one of those people that does what my parents
Right,
do?
yeah.
Yeah.
wanting
Okay.
to feel like whatever I was doing
Sure.
was earned and was
Yeah,
my
yeah.
own path. and,
Right.
like,
Well, you're young enough for that to happen.
yeah.
Huh. But
Yeah.
you felt that even then. Like,
Felt that even then. And then I also had, like they had, as all artists do, they're like, it's the best and
Yeah.
it's the worst.
Right.
And so that's in the house of like, don't
That-
do this, it's hell. Don't do this, it's hell. Even though I'm watching my parents like
Yeah.
love what they do, and it's clearly the only thing they could be doing, but like they hate it. But
And
they
they've been
love
doing it forever.
And they've been doing it forever.
What about the rejection element? Did you get that lecture about auditioning and all the
Sure.
practicalities?
But also, I saw it. Like they were getting rejected all the time.
Yeah.
Even in their success, it was like it's a ton.
It's a tough choice. You like when you look at people like your case is, I think manageable. When you look at someone like Jacob Dylan, making that decision, like I'm going to be a singer songwriter. I'm like,
Holy shit!
what? what a thing to put on yourself.
Holy shit! And you're never like I'm definitely going to run into people who have no idea.
Yeah, right. I mean, I didn't realize that your dad wrote the screenplay for The Firm, which is really the best Grisham movie.
He did write that.
It's a great movie. I watch it a lot. I think Sidney Pollack even directed it, if I'm not mistaken.
I can't remember.
He wrote that movie. That's crazy.
But was he the only writer on it?
No, there's never.
Right. I feel like there was a.
There's always a
Yeah.
few.
Yeah.
So you decide to take the plunge in acting. How do you train? How do you get into it?
Yeah, so then I was like all in, and
Really?
I went to Northwestern
Well, that's a good for undergrad.
for undergrad.
They have like a good program, right?
Yeah, at the time, I don't know if it's changed, but
Yeah.
like at the time, they don't have a grad program,
But I think I remember hearing it was a really good undergrad.
so that's
program.
why it's so great for
Yeah.
the undergrads because you're not competing.
Yeah.
Like you do everything.
You don't have to deal with the snotty grad students.
There's no like you're getting all the good parts.
Yeah.
It's like it was sort of like a conservatory within a liberal arts.
Yeah.
It was the only one that had a structure like that where
Huge,
I felt like
huge school.
huge school. Yeah, Big Ten.
Yeah. Chicago?
Yeah.
Yes. So were you going out and seeing things? Did you go to Steppenwolf? Did you go look
Yeah,
at
I was
things?
also like going to frat parties and like football games.
Football game.
But then as I got my shit together and I
Yeah.
would go to Steppenwolf.
Did you go to any comedy, any Second City and shit like that? Or
I
it
did go
wasn't-
to a little. Yeah.
Yeah.
There is all that great
Yeah.
comedy there.
all the improv stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there were great, I mean, I would have never dared, but I had friends who did, I think it was called Meow. It was like
Yeah.
the improv
Yeah.
group
In school.
in school, and they were amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
But you never did that stuff?
No.
Why? Why you say it like that? You don't think you're funny?
I am funny, actually. Can you tell? It's my
Yeah,
super.
I
It's
feel
my
it.
secret
Yeah.
superpower.
I can feel it.
No,
Yeah.
I am funny,
In
and
Love
I would,
and Death, you were hysterical. That's a comedic part of it.
I would love to do comedy, but that's different than stand up
No, I
or
know.
improv.
Have you done much film comedy?
No, because everyone thinks I'm too serious. It's so frustrating. I
Really?
think because I did Shakespeare, but I'm like, but Shakespeare. No one's funnier than fucking Shakespeare.
Yeah, true.
Like when he's funny, it's the funniest.
That's weird. So you feel like you're typecast in a way?
I just feel like
Also, they don't make many comedies, really. There's not that much funny.
no, that's true, and it is like this. There's like
a crew.
a crew.
Yeah.
But in the theater, I was doing comedy.
Yeah, of course. That's where it happens.
Right. And
Yeah.
even in the drama, that's like that thing where I'm like, is it drama, is it comedy? I'm
Yeah.
like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's both all the time. I mean, so, but yeah, I do think there's like, it's annoying. I feel like people, I don't know, there's some feeling of seriousness. Maybe it's like my
Yeah.
deep voice or like
But like, if you
My
really think about it, I bet you, like, if you told your agent, "Look, man, go find me one." I mean, they really don't shoot that many. Like, and most of them are terrible. Do you know what I mean? To find like a good, I remember what I was crying about.
What?
Ray Romano directed and wrote his first feature,
what's
and
it
I watched
called?
it. Somewhere in Queens, I think it's called, and it's a very personal story. And I sat there and watched it with my girlfriend, who apparently I didn't quite realize it has a heart of stone, and.
Or maybe it's something else.
No, I know.
Maybe she's just not selfish like you, crying.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Or maybe she's just maybe she has a healthy emotional spectrum and she's able to emote properly and not bottle it all up. Most of my crying at commercials and movies is really just because I'm locking it down
Right.
and I'm looking for a release of some kind.
Right. It does feel good.
Yeah, but I don't know why I'm so wary of it. But I happened today. I read an email from somebody, and it like got me all fucking choked up. And it was good, and I had that realization. I think I noticed it today more than ever. Like, oh, this is the problem. I'm not doing this enough.
What was the email?
Well, I'm a sober guy, and sometimes I talk about sobriety, and occasionally I'll get emails from people that say, like, you really helped me, sort of, make the move to do that. And there's something about the language of sobriety that always gets me when people, make that choice. And he told me, that like he went to his first meeting and, he gets it and it just got me choked up.
That seems appropriate.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild. Yeah. I got to figure out a way to get to get it all out.
Yeah.
You've got kids and that's not going to happen for me. I don't know how people do that.
It's good.
I'm selfish and panicky. Don't you panic all the time?
I do, but not about them.
Oh, really? What do
Yeah.
you panic about?
Everything else.
You think they're just going to be okay?
I do.
That's good. That's good. That's
Yeah,
healthy.
I do.
When I picture having children, like I picture leaving the house, and even if they're well taken care of, just being like, what's going on with them? Are they going to climb up on the thing? Are you keeping them away from the thing? That's what I picture every minute being.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that they climb up on, and sometimes they fall off. But yeah, no, I have like a nice. I mean, I think it's because of it's my mother just
Yeah.
gave me some. I like peaceful. I'm able to have a lot of peace around parenting.
Yeah, that's good. So she was very grounded.
Yeah.
Both of them, or
Yeah. Yes, they were.
that's unique in the arts, I think.
I know. Yes, but my mother particularly
Yeah.
And she did a ton of work. Like, she did not have a childhood that was peaceful at
Yeah.
all. And it was like a ton of conscious work. And then,
So by the time you were around,
yeah.
it all paid off.
Yeah.
That's good.
I mean, I think so. I can
Yeah.
report that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when do you start acting for real?
For real, for
Yeah.
real.
Yeah. Like, I mean,
I think I got my equity card like in college doing summer plays. And then
that's how you get it. You get cast in summer stock. That's how you get the equity card.
I think that's how I got
trick.
mine.
Yeah.
And then just after college, I moved to New York
Yeah.
and I started auditioning for plays.
But
And I
like,
started
was it
doing
like,
plays.
everywhere you went, you're like, oh, you're Jill's daughter.
I mean,
Of course they
yeah,
knew.
of course.
But that's
There's like a little bit of that thing. I did like, there was something called, which I think has changed. There
Yeah.
was something called New Leagues at Northwestern where it was like 10 musical theater, 10.
Did you do a lot of musicals?
No.
Oh.
I was in the non-musical. I'd love to do musical and a comedy. I'd like to do musical comedy.
It seems like this is available to you. Like, I feel like you can do it. I think like the more we talk about it,
Let's just talk.
You'll get a call.
Yeah. Okay, great. But anyway, it was like they had 10 from
Yeah.
the, I don't know, what is it, regular theater?
Yeah.
Non-singing, non-musical theater.
Yeah.
And then you go to New York and you like do a showcase.
Yeah.
And try to get like an agent and a manager and things like
Yeah.
that. And like a bunch of casting
Sure.
directors are there. So we did that. And then, I moved to New York. I was like nannying. I didn't wait tables. I was a nanny.
Huh. That seems a little more consuming than waiting tables.
Yeah. Well, I think I would have, I don't know that I would have been any good at
Waiting tables?
Yeah, I just dropped
You're a
stuff.
dropper?
I'm a dropper, yeah.
Kids? You drop your kids?
No.
Good.
No. But like, don't ask me to pass you,
Oh, yeah.
a pen or something.
But nannying, that's like all day. You get attached. You got
And it was like I like fell into this nannying niche because I was babysitting. I was babysitting for one set of twins, and then like, I don't know, the twins' parents, they're like, oh, well, we have this. So then I was sitting for two sets of twins.
How are you rehearsing? How do you do acting?
No, then I didn't have a job. I was just auditioning.
Okay.
And then when I got a job, I stopped.
Yeah. Stop with the
stopped
kids.
with
What was
the
the first
kids.
job?
My first job was Steel Magnolias
Was that a big cast?
on Broadway.
Yeah. Like who you working with?
Delta Burke.
Oh, wow. I remember
Franny
her.
Sternhagen.
What happened to that lady? I haven't heard Delta Burke's
I
name in a
know.
long time.
Yeah, actually, that's true.
Huh. Who else?
She was so much fun.
Yeah.
Christine Ebersol.
Yeah.
Franny Sternhagen. Marcia Mason.
Wow.
Rebecca Gayhart. I think that's everybody.
And you were what, 20?
Yeah, 21.
So that's big.
And I remember with that job, I auditioned first for, I can't remember. I think I auditioned first for the Shelby, for the, the movie? It's like Julia Roberts and then there's the Daryl Hannah part.
Yeah.
And I had auditioned for Shelby, which is the part that Rebecca Gayhart ended up playing. And they were like, no, I can't remember what the reasoning was.
Yeah.
Like maybe I was too young
Yeah.
or something. I mean, you never know if you're going to
Sure.
be true. But then I was like, but the part I want to play is Annelle, which is the Daryl Hannah part. And they were like, no, you're like an ingenue. Like, you can't play. I was like, let me at it. And I remember, like, I was like, how do I I guess I have to look kind of like quirky, Mom. Like, what should she was like tied like a I was like on my way out the door and she like tied like a handkerchief around my neck or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got that part.
You didn't get the part
I
you
did.
wanted? Or you
I got
did?
the part I wanted. But they didn't want to see me for it. They really didn't want to see. I really had to beg or have my agent beg and be like, she can be,
Weird.
whatever. Weird, yeah. Little did they know.
So did you
And funny. It's funny, too.
Yes.
Like,
you don't have to get mad.
Okay, sorry.
believe
Yeah,
you.
you've never said I'm not funny.
I believe you're funny. You have to sell me on it. I'm completely convinced. So were you able to, I think you did work with your mother, right?
Yeah.
On stage?
Yeah, I wish we'd done more of it. I was a wimp. I mean, and I also, there was something I was supposed to do with my dad's, and then I actually couldn't do it because the play that I was doing like extended or the dates shifted. I mean, there was a legitimate reason that I.
What play of your
do it.
dad's could possibly have a part for you?
It was called An Early History of Fire.
Okay.
Which was like a play he'd written when he was very young, and then they did a production of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I didn't do that, and then, but there's this movie that he wrote for my mom that never got made that he gave me when she died.
Yeah.
Sort of just to, he was like, I don't know if, but now I'm like the right age to play the part, and so.
What's the movie?
It's called We're Just Married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you doing it?
I don't know. I mean, you want to finance it?
Hold on, let me see what I got. How much do you need?
It's hard to get these.
That's what I hear. Like I'm trying to get involved with doing that myself, with making a movie.
Yeah.
And I've talked to a lot of people who make movies, and I'm a more immediate gratification kind of person. When I hear these people talking about, it took us 5 years, I'm like, I'm out. 5 years to make something that might come out good and most likely will not be seen by most people.
Right, even if it is really good. Yeah, exactly.
Holy shit.
I know. Torture.
Life's too short.
Yes, it really is.
Right?
But then it's also like, it's just too short because there's so much to do.
Yeah. I know. I don't, is there? Like what? I know there's a lot to do, but like today, like all I'm thinking is like, I gotta get some walnuts.
That's what you're thinking right now. That's how well this is going.
No,
You're
I mean
I just want to get some walnuts.
When I think of all the things I want to do,
right?
That's at the top of the list.
But that's great. I think that's healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep it small.
Both.
Yeah.
Like you are.
Yeah, I want to get some walnuts, and I'd like to win an Oscar.
Great. But I think when you're fucked is when you stop thinking about the walnuts.
Oh, or you have someone else do it. I mean, that's the other thing. People are like, why don't you get an assistant? I'm like, what would I do with my life? You understand? I like going to 3 supermarkets in one day. I love it. I don't. But I imagine it would free time up. But I don't know. Whatever. I don't like, because I'm primarily alone in my life. The free time thing doesn't always pan out great, because then there's a lot of that time of sort of like, I should be doing that. What should I be doing?
But I have, even though I'm very much not alone.
Yeah.
Like there are just so many people
around,
big and small around me all the time. I still
kind of do that.
Yeah. Like we'll have moments of like, wow, I've really been staring at the wall for
what do I
45 minutes.
I was going to watch Heaven's Gate the other night, and I'm like, I don't have time in my life.
Right.
To do this.
Right.
Even though I know it's not as bad as they say, it's still 3.5 hours of Chris Christopherson, which is not terrible.
No.
But, it's a lot of time.
Yeah. I know.
So when did you get the big break for you was like Shakespeare, right? Really?
Still waiting for it.
What are you talking about? Didn't you weren't you with Pacino and it got like, that was like, oh my God.
Yeah, that was
Merchant of Venice?
That was Merchant of Venice. I did, yes.
Where the fuck did you learn how to do Shakespeare?
It's a great question. Yeah. It's a great question. I was doing, after Steel Magnolias, I did like another play off Broadway, and then I auditioned and got cast in this Shaw play called Heartbreak House that was also on Broadway. This is coming back around to Shakespeare.
Okay.
Dan Sullivan, who is the great director, he saw that production, and he told me that he cast me as Portia then, like in that moment.
Right.
But I don't know how many years it was, like a few years later.
Right.
He was doing Merchant with Al.
In the park?
In the park.
Yeah.
And I think I had just done like some teeny tiny movie in the wilderness where I was like, doing my own hair and makeup and costumes and continuity. And
what, it was called In the Wilderness?
No, it was called...
Literally
we literally were shooting in the wilderness.
Yeah.
It was called Letters from the Big Man.
Yeah. Just an indie?
Yeah, by this guy, Christopher Munch. It was about Bigfoot.
Oh.
Anyway.
What made you choose to do that?
It was interesting. He was interesting.
Okay. He got you.
Anyway.
He sold you on the Bigfoot.
So on the
movie.
Bigfoot. Yeah, listen, and I also I like to do my own stunts, so I knew I get to like go out in the.
Yeah.
So I was sitting in my car in like my rental in Laurel Canyon, or outside my rental. I got this call like, "Oh, you've been offered Portia in the Merchant of Venice," and I was like, to audition.
No.
And they were like, no, just
got it.
You got it. So then I did that in the park.
Yeah.
And then
Was it great?
I mean, it was listen, my mom was dying during that. So it's all
Tied up with trauma.
it's a lot. And Al and my mom had been together in their 20s.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, oh my God.
It was like a huge it was very profound worlds colliding thing.
And Shakespeare is at the core of it.
And Shakespeare's at the core of it. And I do think Shakespeare and Hamish was in it, and we weren't dating or anything, but like that's where I got to know Hamish.
Really?
It was a lot happening
Emotionally.
at once.
What was Al checking in, and like what was his?
So I didn't tell Al that my mom was sick.
Oh.
And I told Dan when because we
The director?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did the production like in the park. It did really well, and there was rumblings of like, is this going to move to Broadway? But we ended the run. Those runs are very short.
Yeah.
In July, and like there was like it's actually called a transformation. Like, there's a kind of transformation in her illness. It's like the actual name of what happened.
What illness?
CLL, which is chronic lymphatic leukemia.
Oh my God.
But then there's this thing called a Richter's transformation that can happen to a very small percentage of people. So that happened like right as we were closing the play in the park. And it was just like a nosedive. Like it was so
Her health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know if I could do but she said I had to. She was like, you have to do, because she had seen me 7 times in the park.
Yeah.
So then I did it. We transferred to Broadway. I still hadn't. I did tell Dan, because I was like, you've got to get me a great understudy.
Yeah.
Because I know I never miss a show, but like, I don't know. I don't know what's happening. Get me a really great understudy that makes everybody very happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Broadway.
would basically go from in rehearsals during previews.
Yeah.
I would go from the hospital, like sleep on the floor, go to rehearsal, do the show. Yeah, and then she died. We went home. She died, and then I.
Was everyone around?
Mm-hmm. So I missed a week. I missed It was like there was this funny moment. There was this thing that happened with a nurse.
Yeah.
And I just like looked into this nurse's eyes that I've sort of left my body as I'm talking about this. Am I still making any sense?
Yeah. Why? Just because of the sadness?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I looked into her eyes, and I just knew something was. It was just like a moment of eye contact with this woman.
That you knew what? That was it?
I knew she was going to die for the first time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that was a Friday. And because, they don't, it's like her doctor had been her doctor for so long. He loved her so much he wouldn't say time.
Yeah.
And you're like, I've never watched, I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at.
Yeah.
This is so, like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Someone tell me what's happening.
Yeah.
And anyway, we got her home on Thursday. She died on Friday. I did the show on Saturday.
Oh, my God.
And then we opened on Sunday.
So that was a preview on Saturday.
They pushed opening, and then we opened to that Sunday.
Did you find that it helped you get out of yourself, or was it a struggle?
It was like the only thing I could do. And there was like something, I remember being really upset. Well, I mean, everything was like,
sure.
But there was something like, Lily Rabe leaves the show for a week to to grieve the death of her. And I was like, no. The only shows I missed, she was alive. I was with her. Once she died, I was on stage. I didn't know where else to go.
Yeah.
There was no I wasn't going to, it was the only place for me to go. It was the only thing I could do. And it's the only thing I remember doing. Like, I don't remember anything. I don't remember how I got to the theater. I don't remember who I saw sleeping, eating. I don't remember anything, but I remember doing the play. It was like this sort of current.
Yeah. What, the performance itself?
And the play, like had it
I don't
not
know.
been,
I don't know the Portia.
Oh, well, yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, she sort of saved me.
Yeah.
But Shakespeare, it's Shakespeare. It's like, had it been something else, I don't know that I could have.
So you're able to tap into the eternal Shakespeare thing.
Yeah. Or whatever that is, like whatever that sort of lifeline pulse.
Through the centuries.
It is an eternal thing.
Yeah.
And you're just like, this umbilical cord is sort of.
Huh. And that's where you learned how to do Shakespeare?
Yeah, so I didn't really know what the fuck I was doing. Dan says he just knew, seeing me in that Shaw play, that I could play the part. And I will say that, like, and then I went on to do, like, from Portia. After Portia, I did Rosalind.
Yeah.
Then I did Beatrice. And then I did Imogen, lesser known, but in Cymbeline, one of the great, Imogen's like one of the great parts.
Yeah.
But I really kind of played like, it was like really a lot of greatest hits. A lot of the great ladies, one after the other. And I don't know, it just made, that language just makes a kind of sense to me that like talking doesn't.
Huh. Well, I mean, it also must have informed, like, it must have been like an acting school. I mean, in a sense, to do all the varieties of Shakespearean women has got to, expand your capacity.
And it does.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like that. And that's why Al, who was playing Shylock, he played Shylock, and he'll want to play Shylock again, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Because you sort of like, all you have to do is lock in, you just say the words.
Yeah.
And you lock into something.
Yeah, really.
That
poetry
does all of that. And it is this kind of like expansion. And I think it's why you're, like, I would love to play all of those parts again. There aren't a lot of parts I've played where I'm like, I'd love to.
Well, you can. Like, many people revisit those parts throughout their lives. And I imagine because of the genius of the language and the structure of Shakespeare, at every age, it reveals something different to you, right?
That's right.
I would assume that's
because
the way that
your
works.
soul is like, you're bringing. Hamish and I did.
Well, he's like a Shakespearean guy, right?
He is. He's the best.
Like, doesn't he literally come from Shakespeare?
He comes from. Actually, I listened to Sam Rockwell on this talking about studying with his mom, with Kristen Linklater, because she did this. She had this whole voice.
Yeah. She's a voice teacher.
She's a voice. She's.
But she's a Shakespearean person.
She was a wonderful voice teacher. Yes, and she had this technique called the Linklater technique.
Really, but didn't she start some Shakespearean theater company? Or?
Oh well, she lived. She didn't start it, but there was this thing called Shakespeare and Company that he sort of grew up in.
That's crazy.
Crazy. So he's been doing it since he could speak. Anyway, in terms of coming back to the parts, it's like Beatrice and Benedict. We did it when we were on the younger side, and it's like
before you were partners.
No, at that point we were.
Oh, okay.
But when he says like the world must be peopled, a lot of the time when people play those parts, it's like they're done peopling. Yeah. Like they're in their 50s or 60s, right?
Right.
And it was so great to play it like, they're going to go off and have kids.
Yeah.
But then it also is so great.
I have a really hard time with the. It's very hard for me to suspend my disbelief around age and parts. I'm finding that with television.
But what about with the theater?
I don't go enough theater.
Okay. Yeah, right. We're out here. I know.
But it's not a regular part of my life, and I'm sorry about that. I saw Sam in what was he just in American Buffalo? I see that when I was in New York, I saw more, and I tried to go. Huh?
We used to go.
Yeah.
It was like what we did. We
Yeah.
would just go. We would go to TKTS and like, what are we going to see tonight?
Yeah.
It's the greatest thing.
I saw some in Ireland. I went to the Abbey Theatre in Dublin.
Was it great?
It's great. You've never been to
bet.
Ireland?
No.
You got Irish in you. You got to go.
I gotta go.
Don't you have Irish in you? You must.
Well, I do. I don't know that it's blood though. I have my. It's like my great grandfather was like an orphan left on a doorstep, raised then by McCormicks who were Irish. But I can't say that baby was Irish.
The doorstep baby.
The old doorstep baby. Yeah.
Oh man. So that's sort of wild, like, because I talk to people about Shakespeare a lot as somebody who doesn't know a lot about Shakespeare, and I was actually hostile about it. Like, it's like, I don't know about it, and everyone, it's overrated. I was that guy for him. Because I can see that, if you can lock into the language and surf that thing,
Yep.
The emotional availability to sort of explore is really profound, right?
It's profound, and it's like bottomless and ceilingless.
Wow.
Which is why it's so amazing doing it outside.
Yeah.
Too.
But do you have to yell? I guess they have microphones now, right?
They do. No, you don't have to. Don't you? You need to learn the Linklater technique. You don't have to yell. You just support your voice.
Okay, so that Sam was talking about her, but you done Shakespeare with your Shakespearean non-husband partner,
Right.
father of your kids.
Yeah.
So is that like? Do you guys talk about Shakespeare?
All the time.
Really?
All the time. You wouldn't believe it.
Really?
Yeah.
Like what kind of conversations do you like about characters and about what it means?
Yeah, but it just kind of. It's just always relevant. Like it's just a way. It's like a.
So you literally have conversations like news of the day. You're like, well, this is like that play.
Sort of. Does that make us sound so?
No. That's what's great about Shakespeare.
It's the truth. It is. It is what's great, and it's like it's.
He can contextualize all human emotions.
That's right.
And situations
and
politics.
And I think both. They're the generosity of it.
Yeah.
Of the experience of being in the audience and of doing it.
Yes.
Is just so profound. It's like and of playing these parts. It just. I mean, gratitude, it's like the most overused whatever, but
Gratitude's not. Storytelling is.
Okay, I won't say storytelling.
Gratitude's good.
Gratitude is good.
Yes, it's not overused.
But you just feel like, I just feel like those, saying those words and surfing it just as you're saying, like your soul and your heart is like expanding, and then also they get it like gets into your cells in a way that I do feel I'm carrying them around with me.
Yeah.
But I feel also that way about like Hamlet, who I've never played, but I've
Yeah. But I mean, I have to assume that once you've had a well of experience with Shakespeare doing a part like, what's her name? Betty? Is that the name of the character in Love and Death?
Yeah, it is.
That, it must make room for those kind of, it must make room for all the characters. I mean, even if the language, obviously it's not Shakespeare, but I mean, it must make your acting deeper if you really get it.
It is just it's like it just makes more space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like that character of Betty, it's a complicated character, and it's emotionally, her vulnerability is abrasive, right? So, you have initially a hard time empathizing but you see her insecurity so clearly.
She's terrified.
Yeah, totally.
She's terrified.
And it is so horrible. The whole thing, her life, her mind is so, difficult. But like, I don't know how you put together a character like that. Like I don't know that I've ever really seen a character like that. In my recollection, that these miniseries gives you an opportunity to go pretty deep with these things, and you do a lot of them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
Is
I
that
love the
why?
limited series format.
Yeah, because you can go deeper, or because you can really have an arc to a character.
Yeah, because it's like, and it is like this wonderful kind of. You get more time than you do in a movie.
Yeah,
but you're not like signing some 6-year scary thing.
But I would imagine as an actor, though, you can, like, if it's well written, you can see like the arc isn't rushed.
Exactly.
And, you know, it must be more satisfying as an actor to have good material it's finite, but it's thorough.
Movies are short.
Totally.
Like even
Not Heaven's Gate. That was really long.
no time for that.
Yeah.
But yes.
Huh. Because I saw you in other things. I saw the Underground Railroad. That character is not pleasant in my recollection.
No.
It's kind of rough.
But I loved her.
You did?
That Barry is such a great
Oh yeah, he's
character.
amazing. That guy's amazing.
Yeah.
That was like the fact that not everyone in the country saw that thing and processed it was annoying to me.
Same.
I mean, it's fucking poetry, that thing. And it just kind of came and went, and I'm like, how are you all missing this?
It was so strange.
It's a fucking masterpiece.
Yes, I agree.
You
And
know?
I was really like, that was a head scratcher. And it was scary too.
Oh, menacing.
Like also scary that people weren't, I was like, why?
Because people are babies, and they, it's like it's why Hollywood exists, is to create something palatable that's not going to implicate people when they watch it. And I think that the weight of that thing was too much for people.
It makes me upset.
Sure, people were terrible.
Yeah,
Almost all of
babies
them.
are great. People are terrible. Babies are great.
So make sure they don't turn into people. You got to keep them babies their entire life. So, and what about working? I mean, like I was sort of stunned by all of the acting in this thing. And I don't know if I just haven't been watching enough television or that I'm out of the loop, but lately I've been like, oh my God, I just watched Ali Wong and Stephen Ewan, I think you say his name. And I watched all 10 episodes of their thing, this Beef thing that's coming out. And I'm like, oh my God, they're acting the shit out of this thing. Is everyone just a great actor now? What happened? Have I not been... But like the cast of that thing you're in, Love and Death, it's astounding.
Oh, it was a great cast.
But I know they did the story on Hulu too, right?
Yeah, they did.
I didn't watch that one.
I haven't seen it either. I haven't seen this one. I mean, like
No,
yeah.
but Ashley,
I saw the first episode. We went to South by and I watched the first up.
Olsen like really makes some choices.
Lizzie, yeah, she's great. And
What's her first name?
Lizzie, Elizabeth.
Elizabeth. Why do I
Ashley's
keep
her
calling Ashley?
Sister.
God damn it. So, she's the younger one, right? Elizabeth.
Elizabeth is the younger one.
The one that's acting with you.
Yes.
I keep calling, I'm an idiot. So Elizabeth just acts the fuck out of this thing.
She's great.
I mean, it's crazy good. Yeah, and the writing was solid.
Yeah, David, he's because this is a third thing I've done of his. I did The Undoing.
Yeah, that one was, I like that one.
Oh no, this was the second thing I've done. I'm doing the third thing. Yeah, The Undoing, and then this, and then I'm doing something else right now that he wrote. And his writing is just like great.
Yeah.
It's great to act. Like and there is a generosity in his writing as well.
Yeah.
But I think because you said there's this other, I'm interested in. There was like the other version of the show, like same source material, same story, and it's interesting to me that people are like worked up about that, or sort of like, but it's been done. Back to the no, not that you were saying that, but some people are like, well, didn't they already do that? I'm like, already do it? Like, it's a true story.
Yeah.
How great that
Two angles.
Like when, didn't they already do Hamlet? Like I've seen it once. It's what a wonderful thing to like shine two lights on this story.
Well, it seems like the focus of this one, with having not seen the other one.
Yeah.
This was an entirely empathetic approach to this story. That, there was almost, and he didn't pull any punches around the murder either. But it was all about the humanity of the choices all around.
Yeah. So
by the time that happens, it's horrible and it's disturbing, and how you feel about Candy Montgomery after the fact.
Yeah.
That everything that David Kelly put into these characters in making them fully realized, you really have to sort of, there's no set villain. These are people with problems, which is no easy trick in light of an axe murder.
That's right.
But But I don't know what the other one did. But for that to work, it was all on you guys. For that to work, the scene where, the day of the murder between you and Elizabeth. I mean, I don't know how many times you had to do that.
We shot that scene for 4 days with a weekend in between. And I was like super pregnant.
Before the murder.
Leading up to.
Yes. So why did it take you so long to shoot it?
That sequence?
Yeah.
It's pretty complicated. I mean, it's pretty complicated. It wasn't like we went over. Like that was what the schedule was. We had these, but Lizzie and I were bummed that there was like a weekend in between because it was like we were sort of carrying this thing around and like, and sustained. It's like this sustained. It's like a long sustained note, kind of that whole sequence.
I don't know where you found that character. Like I can't. The sort of. The kind of brittle insecurity of that character. It's
Thank you.
Oh my God! Like, how do you make those choices? Like, what was the key in?
Listen. She's so. I'm always so interested in when I read something and I'm like, gosh, I really have nothing in common with this person.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
But I think her fear. She has this just pervasive. She does not feel safe in the world, and it's really interesting because she was, I don't know how much we really get a sense of that in the show, but like, they're from Kansas. They're not from that town.
Yeah.
They're from Kansas, so they're like they've moved there. They've like transplanted
the
there.
Rural people, ish.
Yeah, and also like, she didn't grow up there, so she is like a fish out of water, and. In Kansas, she was like the girl.
Yeah.
She was like the homecoming. She was like voted most likely to succeed. Everybody talked about her smile. She got 1 million Valentines. She was like it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to diagnose her or anything like that, but I just feel like she's someone who at a certain point she just needed, and I don't mean medication, she needed some kind of support that she didn't have, like whether it was just some outlet, something.
Yeah.
Some way to contextualize the feelings that she was having.
Yeah.
She's a human being. And something, sort of changed for her. And she's fucking terrified of loss. And I think it's like why every time he leaves, and even though it's kind of funny that she's in like a panic when he goes away for 3 days, or she has an affair at one point because he's on a work trip, it's because every time he leaves the door, she's in an existential panic that he's not that he's going to cheat on her, but that he's going to die and never come back. Like she's just, her fear of loss is so tremendous. And then she has this feeling that like something isn't right.
Right.
And she's right.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's that she has any idea what it is.
Right.
But she's just like, I'm not safe. Something is, and that's something that was the way in for me. And that was something that I could
relate to.
Feeling like I don't feel safe.
Yeah.
Why is everyone telling me it's okay? Something's not okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was great. And what are you doing now?
I'm doing this thing on Presumed Innocent, which is another David Kelly. I'm almost done with that. And then I'm going to go do a movie, I think, this summer. I just finished editing a movie that I directed with Hamish.
You co-directed it with your partner?
Yeah.
How was that experience?
It was a million things, but that part of it was fantastic.
Yeah.
I loved directing with him.
What's
so
up with
much.
that movie?
I don't know. What's it
called?
It's called Downtown Al. It's an adaptation of this Chuck Klosterman. Do you know Chuck? I
Yeah.
feel like you would be a fan.
Yeah, we talked years ago.
Yeah, what was it like?
It was great. He's kind of an acerbic thinker, but a great guy. We talked about music. We talked about some books. I like him. Yeah, I always like that guy. I've talked to him a few times.
And he's funny.
He is very funny.
But I think he's like I think he's got this
What?
soft
Yeah, for
heart.
sure.
Like he's so yes, so acerbic, so brilliant, and has that.
Definitely.
But
yeah.
like his heart is.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's why I loved this book. And,
Yeah.
So
So what's the future of that?
I think you know,
You finished editing it, so then
Yeah.
you do the
Yeah,
festival thing,
yeah, something like that.
and then you're gonna do. Now you're doing another movie too.
I think I'm going to go act in a movie that I
Yeah.
guess, I don't know, I haven't, I'm like closing my.
Oh, you haven't done the
Whatever.
deal yet. We'll see what happens. Is it a good
it's,
one?
It's going to work out. Yeah, it's great. It's
Oh, good.
really lovely actors and
Oh, good.
director.
Good deal. Nice to talk to you.
It was so great.
I'm glad we finally did it. I got
So
sick.
great.
You got sick twice. It was like I didn't.